Today I want to talk about why Blue Bottle was worth $700 million to Nestle. And if I could answer it in just one word, that word would be Amazon. I should probably explain. Amazon owns product search, right? When you look for something online, if you're buying it, you probably go to Amazon first. They are the gatekeepers of online shopping, and they're doing an incredible job. In fact, for years, Amazon have used a hugely profitable business, their web services, that host sites all over the internet, to prop up the retail platform that they've been building. That's how they've been able to grow so quickly, do everything so cheap, have this incredible customer experience. 64% of US households have Amazon Prime, and they're picking up about $4 in every $10 spent online. This terrifies the bigger companies. Because right now, if I go to Amazon.com and I search for, let's say, Nespresso pods, well, sure, I get a few ads first, but then after that, yeah, I get Amazon's recommendation, which happens to be Nespresso pods, a big step for them to start selling on the platform. Now, at some point, any point really, Amazon can say, hey, we know loads of people want to buy pods, we know what they'll pay for them, why don't we just do Amazon pods, right? And then the first thing in any search is going to be Amazon's own product. They bought Whole Foods. Coffee is a growing category. You can't help but think that this is where they're gonna go. And this is a problem. So how do you stop someone buying the Amazon pod over the Nespresso pod? Well, the answer's brand. And this is where we come back to Blue Bottle. Now, I should say I have no insider knowledge here. I met James Freeman once, I met Brian Meehan a couple of times, I haven't met anyone from Nestle. Blue Bottle is a kind of fascinating brand. They paid $700 million for it. They paid the equivalent of about $14 million per cafe. They clearly weren't buying a business. This probably wasn't a deal based on how much profit the company made. This was another kind of valuation. Blue Bottle's interesting to me and has been for a long time. And to go back to why, I'll tell you a quick story about the first time I stayed in New York in an Airbnb. And like most people, I answered the questions, I told the host what I did for a living, and when I got there, she was incredibly excited because she had brought, for me, some Blue Bottle. Blue Bottle had come to represent, in her mind and in a lot of people's minds, good taste. Blue Bottle weren't really the US specialty coffee darlings the same way that, say, Intelligentsia or Stumptown or Counterculture were. They kind of sat off to the side. They didn't play well with other children in the early days, though that has changed a little bit now. Their tone, their language, their style was a little bit different, and in some ways it was kind of rejected by the sort of elite of specialty coffee because it wasn't really serious enough. But what they did a fantastic job of doing was making themselves that expression of taste. If you look at their cafes, they build beautiful cafes. James Freeman is clearly very thoughtful about how a cafe comes together. And walking into any one of them, it's clearly an expression of someone's aesthetic. It resonates strongly with a lot of people. That's incredibly impressive, and I think underestimated in value by the rest of specialty coffee. Blue Bottle had a different style of communication. They talked about buying a $20,000 halogen siphon brewing setup. Now at a specialty, that just seemed insane, right? That was ridiculous, but that was a really smart piece of communication. To lots of people, they understood two things. One, this company spends a lot of money on its coffee in a way that they can kind of understand. And then they kind of evoked that kind of stereotypical Japanese obsession with craft. They were speaking a language most people could understand. And at the same time, specialty coffee, well, we were speaking a whole other language. We were talking about variety and processing, and we talked about farm names that were almost impossible for people to pronounce. We were speaking just a whole other language. Blue Bottle weren't and didn't for a long time, and I think this allowed them to build a brand by communicating better than most of us. Sure, they got a lot of investment, they were able to grow, they were able to acquire companies like Tonks' Subscription or Perfect Grind. Again, looking at ways to sort of break down the customer barrier and be more approachable. That brand, that consumer attachment that people have, and people I met who were just normal people that drank coffee at Blue Bottle really felt this defined them in a very positive way. They produce very viral consumers of their stuff. And I've seen them described as like a hipster cafe, But having been to a bunch of them and sat in them, that's not the traditional kind of hipster demographic going there. It's people from their 20s through to their 50s, by and large pretty affluent, by and large interested in a better product. Perfect as a kind of growing demographic of huge, huge value to a company like Nestle. So how do you retain that consumer relationship? And I think that has to be through brand. So that, from my point of view, is why I think Nestle thought the Blue Bottle was worth $700 million. There you go, just a quick video for now. There will be more videos coming. The basics of this place are coming together. Going to be shooting some more stuff very soon. If you disagree, tell me in the comments below. I'm open to a conversation about this sort of stuff. It's something I think about quite a lot, so I want to talk more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.